What's going on, everybody? So I've been meaning to make this video for the longest period of time, just to have some closure of this very difficult chapter in my life. So I'm glad I've got to a place in my life now where I can just share this story and have closure on this video. So if you don't know, I've talked about my previous life in the corporate rat race in my previous videos, but I'll do a quick summary about what this video is about. So I just want this DNM session to be open and honest and just be raw in this video. So for my working life, I got a 4 years bachelor's degree in engineering, and then I went straight away to work after university. I worked in the public sector for about under 2 years, and then I went into the corporate sector for about a little under 8 years. So in total, I had about just under 10 years working as an engineer in both the public and private sectors. And those were the two main jobs I had, one in the public sector and one in the private sector. And I'm going to be focusing much more on the latter job in the corporate world, because that was the one that gave me the most difficult time, but was one of the biggest life lessons, learning lessons in my life. So yeah, I did a 4 years bachelor's degree and went to work straight away in the industry for about 10 years. And then I quit that to come to Vietnam at the end of about mid 2019. And I've been in Vietnam for a year now on sabbatical, which has been extended indefinitely, just because I've been enjoying my time away, quitting the corporate rat race, and just spending time with myself and spending time to work on the things that I'm passionate about, not just chasing the money and being in that corporate world anymore. So in this DNM session, I want to talk about everything that's led up to where I am, just so I can have closure in my life. So talk about how I quit my job, how I planned, or how much money I need to make to be able to still, because I've got an investment property back home, still pay off my mortgage and still be able to live abroad for a year and over a year now if I budget correctly. And also just how I told my parents, and just the way I was feeling, what was going on with work and all the mental health side, and the whole just making money, because I was eventually making 6 figures. But I was the most depressed in my life during that time. So in my previous DNM session and my previous videos, I've touched on all the negative sides of being in the corporate rat race. But just to begin with, I want to talk about all the good things that have come out of being in that working high intense working environment. Number one, so I eventually made over 6 figures in my income, but that was only towards the end of my career. I definitely didn't start on that when I first came into grad 10 years prior to that, but it was only towards the end of the 10 years of my career that I eventually started making over 6 figures. And from that, I was able to buy my first investment property in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm very fortunate for that. I was able to travel every year, go on 4-week vacations every year, or even multiple vacations every year. And most importantly, I was able to save up enough money where I could go travel and live abroad in Vietnam for, I had planned, before I quit my job, I had planned I needed to save enough money to live for over a year and not have to work. So, and not only that, I was also able to pay off all my HECS, which is all my student loans, during the 10 years I was working. So I was very happy that I was able to pay off my student loans and not owe the government any money. But I do wish I had saved a lot more money than I did. I wish I had invested more money. I wish that maybe I had paid off more of my mortgage, but that's how things are. I wish I'd been much more smarter with my money, but no, there we go. So money aside, as high pressure, as intense as the job was, and I'll go into more details about all that in the mental health side, but one of the good things that did come out of that, I've learned a lot about the business, how a business operates, the bottom lines, the profits, the project management, working under intense, high-pressure environments, dealing with clients, negotiating contracts. So all of that I learned in the corporate world, and I've actually been applying that all to all the businesses that I've been working on here, and even just to operating my own channel. And just that's I definitely didn't feel that when I was under all that pressure and working overtime, weekends, taking work back home, and during all that is in a stressful time. I definitely didn't appreciate that. But now that I've been removed from that environment for over a year, I do appreciate all the skills that I learned from the corporate world, and I've been able to apply to my personal business that I'm starting up myself. So I definitely would not have got that experience if I wasn't working in that intense environment. But it's definitely not an environment that I want to go back to at all. So I definitely have quit the corporate rat race for good. And for me, the 10 years was a good amount of time where I knew did this for 10 years, and I knew I didn't want this. I didn't want to continue doing this for the rest of my life. Another 40, 50 years, I knew this was not something I wanted to do. Of course, I could always change companies, go back to the public sector, go up to management and all that, but I knew being in a corporate world, the whole rat race, it definitely was not something I want to do for the next 40 to 50 years of my life. Each year, just going, taking time off 4 weeks a year, making all this money, but it just was not work. I was not happy waking up each day, going to work. I was miserable. I dreaded going to work every single day. I was under so much stress, so much pressure, anxiety, depression, all that, and that was all because of work. And the more that I stayed there, the more responsibility I had. The more senior I became. When I left the company, I was a senior consultant, senior engineer, and a senior project manager. But the more titles I accumulated, the more responsibilities I accumulated, the more I was tied down to that paycheck, and I hated that. The more money I made, the more unhappy I was. I know it's as cliche as that sounds. I know you probably heard it so many times before, but it's just so true for me. I kept imagining, could you imagine all this overtime, working on weekends, working at night time, almost doing 2 shifts. You're going to work in a day and you're actually taking your laptop home to continue working, running simulations, writing reports at night time in your room. I was already working from home before. I was working from home years before COVID happened, and working from home is one of the worst things to experience ever. On top of going to work, doing your standard 8 hours, 10 hours, and then bringing your laptop home and to continue working at home until midnight, 1 or 2 a.m. It was the absolute worst. I absolutely hated bringing my laptop home and continue working from home. It was the worst thing ever. I wasn't tied down so much to the paycheck because I could have quit any time, but I had a plan. I knew that I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go live in Vietnam for over a year, and so I knew I had the whole Excel spreadsheet. I counted the weeks and the amount of money I needed to make, the amount of money I need to save for my mortgage and to live overseas. I worked down to the week how much money, how much amount of time I need to work, and that ended up being the 10 years. I could have worked longer and saved up more money, but 10 years was just enough for me. I was fortunate that I didn't have any other external responsibilities apart from my property. I didn't have my own family that was relying on me to bring money home, which is what I planned for. Because if I had my own family, I couldn't just quit my day job and go and do what I wanted. That would be for another video. But in terms of the financials, I could not just drop my job and just go and do what I want if I didn't have money coming. If I had my own family, if I had the responsibility of my own family looking to me for the income, I couldn't just drop my job just like that. But I had planned that I wanted to be single and I wanted to take control of what I was doing with my life. And so not having my own family just yet allowed me to plan my financials, allowed me to buy my own property and to live overseas. So that was something that I deliberately planned for myself. And in this video, I'm going to go on so many tangents, but this has been on my mind for so long, so it's going to come out. So I'm hoping there's a chronological order to what I'm saying, but it's just this has been in me for so long, so I just want to get this out and then just be raw and just express this story of mine, get this all off my chest now. So when it came time to talk to my parents about quitting my job, at that point I was getting to a point where I was speaking a lot better. I was able to express myself a lot better to my parents. So I had said to my parents, I told them about my plan and how I had worked all the numbers out and how I knew what I was doing, and I was asking them to trust me. I was asking them this is what I want to do. And of course, my parents are always concerned about what are you going to do financially, how going to find a stable income, a stable job. But then it's one of the things I experienced and learned from my years working in the corporate world is that there is no such thing as a guaranteed job security, financial security. There's no such thing as job security, because you've probably seen it yourself. But people can get let go, get terminated from jobs for any reason, from whatever management deems to be, the flavor of the month. Like if they're not meeting the profits, the bottom line is not where they expect it to be. Not meeting budgets. Your performance isn't where they expect it to be. The market, isn't behaving where it is. They've lost a client. They're not making enough money from client. Management, when they want to terminate someone, they can be very creative in that process, and I've seen that many times before. And so there's nothing guaranteed about job security. The only certainty about job security is about if you are able to carry your skill set to another employer. But the job security is definitely not guaranteed wherever you are. And I said that to my parents, that I could self-terminate. I could be terminated from this job, even though you're on a contract. If the market, the bottom line, the company, whatever it is, if it's not working, you can be terminated just like that. There's no such thing as job security. The only secure thing is how you're able to transfer your skill set to another job. But I've said this in one of my previous DNM videos, but it took a while. But it happened a lot faster. My parents came around. They saw that I had a plan for myself, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that I wanted to take some time off to myself and follow my passions. And also, it was just a corporate burnout. I was burnt out after 10 years, and it wasn't like I just did 1 or 2 years and I quit the job. I did 10 years in this industry, and after that at the end of that 10 years, I knew this wasn't for me. And yes, I was quitting, but I was quitting on my own terms. I had put in 10 years of my life, and I was absolutely burnt out, so unhappy, miserable, depressed. I knew I wouldn't last. My mental health was not going to last doing this for another 40 to 50 years. Changing jobs, going to another position. I did not want to be in this industry at all. I did not want to be working for someone else anymore. I did not want to be in a corporate rat race because it was killing me. It was killing my mental health. Physically, I was fine because no matter what, my physical health, I always took care of. I still went to the gym. I still took care of what my nutritional intake, because that was something that was very disciplined for me. The nutrition side and the physical side, that was easy. I loved that, and I never let work impact that as much as I could. If I had to go to the gym, I would bring my laptop home, because there were certain times of classes I needed to go to classes. If I was training by myself, I would always make that time for that and then continue working from home, which I hated, but I wasn't willing to sacrifice. I was already sacrificing my mental health. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my physical health anymore. There were times where I just couldn't make it to the gym, but I was always cautious about my nutritional intake. I was always eating healthy, drinking enough water, and making sure my intake was the best it could be under the circumstance. So what I've talked about my plan after 10 years to quit the corporate rat race because I was burnt out. My plan was always to take 1 year sabbatical, move to motherland and experience the motherland, and live overseas and not work for a period of time, and just focus on my passion, one of which is my YouTube channel, which I absolutely love doing. I said to myself, could you imagine working 50, 60 hours a week, not working for someone else, but working for someone you love, and actually waking up each morning looking forward to going to work? I mean, some people say that's a dream, it's not possible, but could you imagine if you were able to do that, working on your passions and waking up and actually looking forward to going to work? I mean, that was, for me, that was a dream that I've always wanted to do, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to do it. I'm not making any money yet from YouTube, but I love making videos. I love creating content, and when I wake up in the morning, I love going to work as opposed to slaving myself away for someone else and making someone else rich and just being miserable for a paycheck. I mean, I hated that. But yeah, so I talked about my plan to quit after 10 years, my 1 year sabbatical, talking to my parents, and next up is my mental health during that time. So being as a consultant in the corporate world, as an engineer, the company I was with, I mean, this is for many companies, you have a contract, but even if when you have a contract and you're working for the company, you're employed, but if you don't have clients paying your wage, or you don't have the bloody billable hours, being employed means jack. I mean, if you don't have the clients there, you're not working for the clients, even though you're employed, your time will be, it's not going to last very long. You would have clients paying for you. So it's not like working for the public sector where it's a different it's a different beast. The billable hours is a bit of a different beast where it's not even counted or sometimes, but it's different as compared to working in the private sector. But towards the end of the 10 years, I mean, I knew like 2 years prior to quitting, I knew like I hated it so much because like I had gone up to a position where I was becoming more senior and the responsibilities just kept piling up, and the clients, the projects kept on coming because I was seen as someone that was reliable, someone that could deliver the work. Early on in my career, and even towards the end of my career, I kept saying yes to everything. Like when I was asked, like because people knew they could rely on me, I was always saying yes. Like I would rarely turn down, say no to someone if they needed something help. Like even the amount of overtime I was already doing, I would always do my best to try and help others, and that was just in my nature to do so. But it came at a cost to like, my own mental health. I mean, it's when you're doing 50, 60 hours and you're working on multiple projects from multiple clients, you've got all these deadlines coming hard and fast. It's the amount of anxiety, depression, stress you're under. I mean, you're taking work home. I mean, have you been so stressed that you're not able to sleep because you're having all this, you're thinking about work in your sleep, you're having nightmares about work. Like, what if you've done something wrong? What if the simulation's wrong? What if something's wrong in your report? That you're actually having nightmares to a point where you can't sleep because of work, and then you have to go to work next day and you haven't gotten that sleep, and how are you supposed to perform at work the next day if you haven't been able to sleep because you're so stressed, because you're so depressed from work the previous day? I mean, it was the absolute worst. And then not only that, when you're around your friends and family, and you're just like a zombie, you're just like you're not even there. I mean, it's just the absolute, you're just a shell of yourself. I mean, you're there, you're just serving the companies, serving the bottom line, serving your clients, but you're just not there for yourself. You're there just to make a paycheck, but you're doing it in the worst possible way. I was under so much stress, so much pressure that it was so much like the world is on your shoulders. And I'm not saying this because I only did like 6 months or a year. I did this for like 10 years working in the industry, and probably the last 2 to 3 years was the worst period of my life because that was all I was doing. Towards the end of it, I planned it out. I just need 1 more week, 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks. I planned out the months, the weeks, the amount of money I needed to make before I quit. I mean, I needed that money, that safe buffer. I just kept myself, just keep holding on. Get to the 10 years at that mark. I mean, like I could have quit earlier, but it was like 10 years was a good enough number for me to know that I did not want to do this for the rest of my life. I look back and just think about what kept me going, apart from like, this is my exit strategy. This is what I need, how much longer I need to work so I can get out. So that aside, I mean, you couldn't rely on management. Management, I was always going up against management because I've had many managers, mid-level managers, team leaders in my working career, and management is a joke. I mean, it's management or lack of management is, there's a lot I want to say, but I've made peace of it, but there was no leadership for me, and it was a lot more mismanagement than management. All I'm gonna say on that topic. I've only had a few very rare 1 or 2 managers in my career that I really respected and that really were able to lead me. But the rest, I'm gonna leave it at that. But what kept me going was I had one senior in my previous career that I looked up to, and and it was always there for me, had my back, and my colleagues who are in the trenches with me every single day. I mean, to have your colleagues here, your colleagues our team was so overwhelmed that we weren't able to help each other out because everyone had their own they were dealing with. Everyone was dealing with their own multiple projects. Everyone was dealing with their own deadlines, clients. So we were so overwhelmed that we couldn't even help each other out. And then you were doing so many roles yourself, and the company's looking like, why would we need to hire another person? We can't justify it. The money isn't there, the products aren't there, the clients aren't there. We can't justify another person when your team, each one of you is doing multiple roles already. We see your stress, but we don't give a shit. Why would we hire another person that's going to cost us more money when you guys are already doing so much of the work already? Why would we need to hire someone else? That was how I felt the company was. But that was beside the point. That was on another point. But being around colleagues who were in the trenches, who knew what you were going through, you knew what they were going through. Even though you couldn't help out with their workload because they were overwhelmed, they couldn't help you with your workload. But to have that, just to look over your shoulder, just to be able to nod, and the best cases where you had a colleague where you could banter with, and just talk and just be able to laugh at each other, laugh at the situation, even though it was a worst time being at work. You were able to make each other laugh and just laugh at the situation you're in, laugh at each other, and having those colleagues, like I couldn't imagine if you had toxic colleagues on top of everything else. It would have been even more. It would have been hell on earth, even more of a nightmare than it already is. To not be able to get along with your colleagues during this time, like I would have quit years ago. Even if the money was, even if I was already making over 6 figures, I would have quit a long time ago. It was only because of the colleagues and one of my seniors that I stuck around as long as I could, because of them. That they kept me sane from me going insane from the amount of work I was doing. I was already going insane, but these people kept my sanity during this time. And I hope you have those people around you. Like, of course, you have friends who care for you and they listen to you and try to understand the best they can, but that's all they can do. They can only understand. I mean, only your colleagues in the trenches with you will understand the amount of that you're going through, because you feel them and they feel you. And it's only because of them. It's only because that senior that I was able to hold on for that long, or I would have left a long time ago. So if you're watching this, I hope you have those colleagues that you can count on and you appreciate them and you let them know, because I made sure to let the colleagues that were close to me, let them know that it was thanks to them. I let them know during the time and even afterwards that it was thanks to them that I was able to hold on and keep going until the day I left. It was because of them. Well, what else do I want to say? I think I've covered a lot of what I wanted to say. I've come to a place that I've been over a year removed from that toxic work environment, and I think I've been the happiest I've ever been. I'm not making any money or amount of money that I was before, and I've been able to recover. I've been the happiest I've ever been. I'm working on things I'm passionate about. I'm waking up, and when I'm doing the 8 to 10 hours I'm doing now, editing my videos, filming, and all the other stuff I'm doing, I love it. I'm so happy doing this, even though I'm not making a single dollar yet from this. Like, I'm so happy doing it, as opposed to being so stressed, under so much pressure, anxiety, from working for a huge paycheck, but just killing myself inside. I know once I find a way to make money from my passions, I mean, that is a dream that I'm working towards. I will never go back to the corporate world, and if I ever do go back to that environment, it will definitely be for a smaller company where you know the owners. The owners aren't on just emails or videos or on the interweb. I actually know the owner I'm going to be working for, and that's probably the only condition, one of the conditions I'll be going back to employment, working for someone else, because I absolutely hate working for someone else. Like, I can't do it. I only want to work for myself, because when you're working for a corporation, there's so many different elements, like what management wants you to do, how you interact with your colleagues, what your clients want you to do. Whereas, say if I'm working for my YouTube channel, like all my success and all my failures, like I'm the only one responsible for that. And that's what I want. I take full responsibility for my actions on this channel. I can say whatever I want. I'm not limited to my creativity on this channel. Now, I'll save this for another video, but I just want to touch on that. But I just cannot work for someone else anymore. And my decision in life now is to take what I learned from that previous world and my work ethic, because I know the amount of hours, 50, 60 plus hours, overtime, night times, weekends, public holidays, if I can do that under a work environment where I hate it, if I can take all that work ethic and apply it to this channel and do what I'm doing on my passions, I mean, and when the money comes in, I mean, that's the dream coming true for me. That's what I want for myself. And that's when I'm the most happiest. Wow, I think I've spoken for over half an hour on this topic, but it's I've got to a place where I've finally been able to make this video and have the closure for myself. I hope by sharing my life experiences in this video, you can somehow relate to it. Leave some comments down below where you are in your life, your corporate world. Like, do you have an exit plan? What's going through yourself, your mental health, your physical health? How are you at work? How are your colleagues? Do you have to deal with toxic colleagues, management, clients? How are you holding on? Like, if you love your job, then that's awesome. If you're able to make big money at your corporate job and you love it, man, hats off to you. But if you're like me, you hate it working for someone else, you hate it working for clients, hate it working for the corporation, the man, the rat race, all that, and you want to always do your own thing, hit me up in the comments. If you have any questions on how I plan, how I worked out the numbers, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I hope you can take away something from this video. I look forward to watching this video for myself 10 years down the line and to see where I'm at, and just for me to close out the previous 10 years, that chapter in my life, and I look forward to the next 10 years when I'm doing something actually for myself rather than for someone else. So thank you for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button to help support the channel and the work I do here. So thank you, cheers, and goodbye.